Yo, what is going on, guys? Welcome to the second episode of Apex Uncut. Of course, I'm joined here by my co-host, Zach Mazer, and today we have a really special guest. I'm excited for this one, his actual new teammate on C9. We got Mac here. Super excited to talk to you guys, not only about, the drama that's been going on throughout the week of you guys joining forces on C9, especially after you guys got second place. So I think that might be a good place to start today, right? So how did this happen?
How did it come about? Well, we've talked about it on stream like super thoroughly, but how it kind of came about was um for those of you that saw Nocturnal's thread on Twitter, for those of you that didn't, then you won't know what I'm talking about. But Nocturnal threw in something about there about me like trying to poach Mac or something before the tournament. It's not completely true, but it's partially true. Before champs, like leading up to champs, Noct and Naughty were both throwing like 2 to 4 games a day. Like it was very consistent that we would throw like a minimum of like 3 games, very rarely only 2, and we were playing super bad. So like I don't know, probably like 3 weeks to a month before the champs, I approached Mac like my team is fucking trolling, and if we perform like this in the championship, like I need to change something up. And like Mac is just one of those players at that caliber where like if that opportunity ever presents itself, you I guess you can say no, but you don't really get to say no because in a lot of the pro players' opinions, he's just at a different level, right? So time goes on, we keep throwing scrims, yada yada yada. Championship tournament comes around, we end up doing really good, right? And super happy, super proud of Nox, super proud of Naughty, proud of myself. Honestly, it was really good for all of us. And to be fair, it was a lot of money. Like super happy. Wish we won. Fuck, wish that was my trophy, but didn't
Got it
didn't
right
take it home.
here.
All good, all good. And after the tournament ended, me and Mac had a conversation. He announced that he was going to quit because he was under the impression. Correct me if at any point I go wrong, Mac. He was under the impression that there was no way that he was going to get a spot on like my roster or on the TSM roster, like Hal's roster, right? He was
Yeah.
under that impression, so he was going to go quit. He announced that he was quitting, and then came to us that he wanted to play with us. And me, Naughty PvP, none of us like knew that or had that impression before champs or after champs or until he just straight up came and said it like blunt to our face. And when he did that, at that point, it was like we were in like a lose-lose situation. It's a really tough spot where we have to turn a blind eye to arguably one of the best players in the game, or and like say no, or we have to like get rid of a player who's like very reliable that we have proven we can consistently be like pretty fucking good with, right? And it was just a really shitty lose-lose situation, but that's just that's kind of how it came about. And I'm happy with the outcome. I hope Nock finds a really good team. I think a lot of people are worried about me and Mac clashing, whether it be IGLing or just in the moment calling, because a lot of the times when like things are getting crazy, there's like a frenzy going on or whatever. Just like kind of like alpha personalities just tend to like take over and give a calm. And if me and Mac accidentally do that at the same time, it could cause a lot of big problems. So people have their worries, but I'm not really worried at all. Me and Mac have been playing games off stream together like consistently, like 3 days a week for over a year now. So we know each other very well. And Naughty and Mac are gonna be playing Tarkov a lot off stream, chilling. So we in this off time, yeah, we have a big break. We have another 3 months of break, and gonna take advantage of it. It's kind of how it came about, though.
Okay,
Yeah.
cool. Do you have
That was a
anything
big
to add to that,
answer,
Mac?
but just want to be
Yeah.
clear.
I mean, yeah, like he said, right? Like I initially was going to fully quit after champs. But I talked about it like on stream. I'm pretty sure I didn't like go straight to Zach. I talked about it on stream. I'm pretty sure my VOD's still there. Where I said that the only rosters that I would want to compete with other than my previous roster with Liquid was either Zach and Naughty or Hal and Jordan. And after that, you know, we just connected and talked about, me joining up.
Okay, that makes a lot of sense. Now we mentioned a couple times, Mac quitting, right? And there's been a lot of stuff going around Twitter, Reddit about him being like a quitter. I wanted to give Mac an opportunity to kind of talk about that and address that and kind of just tell people what he thinks.
Yeah, I mean, the first time I quit, I put out my thread. Like, like it's no secret. Like back then, I wasn't really enjoying the game. Like my VODs might still be there. I'm not sure. I might have had to delete them for Twitch DMCA stuff. But there's no secret that I wasn't enjoying the game at the time. But I didn't want to like fully quit, right? But it got to the point where I was just being I was really negative for the team environment and the vibes back then, and how Jordan had to come to the decision to let me go. And pretty much they're like, look, we see that you're enjoying Valorant a lot. Your heart just doesn't seem like it's in Apex. We think it'd be best if you go pursue Valorant. So I went, I said, all right, I'll go do that. I used that as my story, right? So like I didn't really enjoy Apex anymore, and then I went to go pursue Valorant. But then after about a month, I think I was gone for like 1 or 2 months. That I was gone. Nocturnal from Liquid reached out, and said, he was like, I know you still have passion for the game. I want to give you a spot on our roster because we're having internal issues as well. We'd like you to fill in for Casper while he's taking his mental health break. And I came in, and that turned into me staying on the roster for like 8 months. Or 7 or 8 months, something like that. Pretty much up until Champs. I hadn't talked about quitting. But about a month before Champs, I let them know that I wasn't really happy with how things were going. So yeah, I didn't want to blindside them or anything with my decision. Like I told them like I was going to take a mental break and everything like that. So I don't. The only team that I've ever really quit, I guess, is what I'm trying to say. Just TL. I never really quit TSM. That wasn't my choice. So I won't quit any. I will not be quitting C9 if that's what someone is worried about, or anyone is worried about.
Another thing too, just to add on that, is that a lot of people have been bringing up that you've been swapping rosters a lot, or you play with like 2 rosters, but these people aren't realizing they're like, even the best teams in Apex, like you look at NRG, you look at TSM, like you look at any of the best teams in Apex, and their players have played on like 3 to like 5 different rosters. Mac has only played on 2. Mac is like one of very, very, very few pro players in the entire scene worldwide of Apex Legends that have only been on 2 previous teams, now 3 total, this late into the game. Like, you pretty much look at every person in the Apex scene, and they've been on like 3 or more, even the top pros on the best teams. So, like, I really am like, it's a lot of these Twitter comments and Reddit comments are like laughable, because like it seems as if these people are just like saying things without thinking, or like not knowing what they're talking about, but just saying something, because it's much easier to be negative in these situations than like pay a little bit of attention and then like learn something, find something out, and then base like an educated opinion on the situation.
Yeah,
I mean, just be a dickhead.
Yeah, I mean, I think that the whole situation only really blew up as much as it has, primarily because the Apex scene, there's not really a lot of drama. Like, I feel like most people...
And the game sucks right now.
Yeah.
It's like, it's more fun to sit on Twitter than play the game right now.
Yeah, I mean, it's like, yeah. Like, people in the Apex scene, and like the pros and content creators are all generally like really likable people. We all get along really well. So like, there hasn't really been any drama at all. And people just, they love drama, right? It's like the first little whiff of drama they get, they just start frothing at the mouth and go nuts over it, right? So I mean, I really don't think this whole situation is some like crazy big deal. Obviously, obviously that's not discrediting like that it sucks for Noct, right? But at the end of the day, like, this kind of stuff happens in esports.
Yeah.
And
well, you got to do what's best for your guys' team, right? And I mean, this decision for your guys' careers moving forward is what you think will get you the furthest, make you the most money, win the most championships, right? It happens in esports. It happens in real sports, right? It's nothing
business,
new. Yeah, 100%. And the fact that Mac has only played on 2 teams prior to this really does, show. He's not a team hopper. You guys have been playing for over 2 years, right? Like, that's really good for esports, 100%. So definitely wouldn't say he's a team hopper or anything like that. And I'm glad you guys had the chance to clear up the whole quitting thing too, because like you said, you didn't quit TSM, right? That was a decision they made because you just weren't feeling the game at the time.
A lot of people are this like under that impression. They're like, Mac just quit when he was
Yeah.
on like the best team in the world. It was just not the case. Like cut clean and simple. Like if you're gonna go and say that Knock just got straight up cut and dropped, which is what happened, then Al was in the same shoes.
Yeah.
I've talked to Hal about both situations off stream, and he pretty much described it the same way. He was like, I was put in a very similar situation with Mac a long time ago. Like Mac got dropped a long time ago. It is what it is. And there's just been a lot of confusion, I guess, and
Yeah.
I guess they never really came out with the truth until very recently. So just
Yeah.
wanted to like clear that up on like a bigger platform.
Yeah. What I've realized in the past like week after all this shit is that like just being completely honest and transparent with the community about whatever happens with me or teammates, or even just being upfront with teammates, is honestly just the best way for me to go about it, because just there's no other way to put it, but just being a bitch like I have been just doesn't get me anywhere, and it just bites me in the ass later.
That's a
I
good
respect
like
that.
segment. That's a good segment. I want to talk about this. I'm not gonna like grill you, especially now that you're like my
It's fine.
teammate, and I don't want to like put you on the spot because
Yo,
we
me, bro.
never talked about this. But
Sizzle me.
a lot of the comments that like I actually haven't disagreed with that are like pretty fair hate comments are the TL situation. I'll go as far to say that I truly believe at C9, and if you approach the C9 staff, I truly believe we handled it like very, very, very professionally and very honestly. And
Yeah.
for those of you that disagree with that, watching that right now, or you need to go watch our VOD of the announcement and us explaining everything of how it went down and how Noct was informed, how we got informed, the whole 9 yards, because I don't have the time to explain it right now. And everything was very professional and honest, right? But that being said, something that I've been struggling, like I said, is these TL comments about how someone or something said that you guys were going to have like team meetings talking about you leaving or yada, yada, yada. And then you kind of just like didn't tell them anything. And the next thing you know, you're on another roster. Now, that's something that I've been struggling to be like, that doesn't sound like Mac, but it seems that you definitely did that.
I did. I definitely did, and I regret doing that. So
That's
what
pretty
happened
fucked
with that? Yeah, it is. So, and I acknowledge that. So, what happened with that was, after champs, we said that we were going to talk, right? Me and Team Liquid boys. But Hodsuk reached out to me. I talked to Hodsuk a little bit. Not like we didn't like hop in a call or anything. We just DM'd. And I assumed that he had told the boys. I shouldn't have assumed that. Obviously I should have, DM'd them and been like, hey, let's all hop on a call and discuss everything. But like I said, I'm just I'm very bad at having hard discussions with people. Especially when it comes to me like leaving or something. Because it's a stupid mindset. I feel like I'd hurt their feelings if I left. And I wanted to avoid that, even though me avoiding that made it worse. And I realize that now, which is why going forward, if I ever do end up in this situation again, I'm going to be as brutally honest.
Yeah, you just got to be straightforward. Yeah.
Yeah. I've learned that. Yeah, I haven't ever been in a situation like this before. So I tried to take the least confrontational route, and I've realized that was a mistake, and I needed to just straight up tell them what I was feeling after the champs. Yeah, I definitely fucked up on that situation, and I regret that. And I still want to have a talk with them there's not really much to talk about anymore, right? But I don't know. I've apologized to Brandon. I still need to talk to Tom, the flanker. But I think me and Brandon are on okay terms when it comes to being friends. He said himself he doesn't hate me. He just hates the way that I handled the situation.
That's fair.
Yeah, that's 100% fair.
Definitely mishandled that one. CFGs can be hard for you to chime in on this one, but if you do have any info, shoot some.
Yeah, well, I mean, honestly, bro.
If you
I say
I'm about
big
to ask
ups.
another question, but go ahead.
Okay, go. Well, I just want to say though, big ups to Mac though, admitting you fucked up, right? And now you know moving forward, you're not going to make that mistake again, right? And
Yeah,
in esports,
bad.
a lot of us are young, right? Like all three of us are young. I think we're all in our 20s, right? I'm guessing.
I'm
Uh,
literally 20. Like
yeah.
it's crazy.
So you don't know how to handle those situations, right? It's like a pro athlete. They know how to handle. They're vetted for stuff like this. I
That's
know once you get to
not
like
Yeah.
the league and
that's not an
stuff.
excuse. That's
Yeah,
not.
like I
You
can't make
can't.
an excuse for myself.
Yeah, even at 16, if you're a pro esport athlete at 16, whether it's league academy or whatever it is, like it has nothing to do, in my opinion, with age and everything to do with like your situations and upbringing. Like a maturity shouldn't have to deal with age. Like knowing how to deal with certain situations shouldn't have to deal with age. It should just be like a thing of maturity and like just being understanding. Like Mac didn't need to leave two teams or one team or five teams and then rejoin a team another week later to understand that he needs to be upfront with his previous teammates, right? So
Yeah, I get
I
where you're
don't
coming from.
I don't want to
I don't want to make
create,
excuses for him.
yeah, I
I'm
don't want
saying
to
it's
like
good for him for
say
taking the accountability and now knowing that he
absolutely,
fucked up,
Yeah.
right? That's what's good
absolutely.
about it. Him reaching out to them and stuff. That's great. But yeah,
Yeah.
this good. What was that question you wanted to ask?
Mac, if you don't want to chime in on this one, that's fine. Just say so, and I will speak. And if TFG has something to say, go ahead. But if you're open to it, who do you think would be of the options that are currently out there good thirds for Liquid, or I guess if Liquid were to get dropped in a very unfortunate situation, which I highly doubt is going to happen, I really don't think so. Who would be like a good free agent team, if any, for them to pick up?
Um, yeah, I mean, I can chime in on that. I actually talked to Brandon about that. I mean, my recommendations, don't get me wrong, I like Dropped. Me and him are boys. I've thrown him hosts all the time, played some games with him. He's a really cool dude. But I agree that Dropped probably wouldn't be the best bet for them simply because he likes to IGL. I think he's a really good IGL on top of that. And the player that they need is someone that can just sit back and listen to Brandon. That was like our issue on the team, was that I couldn't just listen to Brandon because we had very different play styles and he couldn't listen to me. So finding someone that doesn't want IGL, just wants to play Gibby and shoot their gun, I think is their best bet. So like I think someone like Fun or even Noct or Clarify would be really, really good options for them. There might be some other like, some other Gibby free agents that I don't know about because I'm not involved in like the free agent scene, so I don't really know who all is open.
Yeah,
But they definitely have really good
sleeper
options
picks.
right now. There's for sure.
I definitely think it's in their best interest to find a controller player. We didn't talk about that at all, but
that would be a good option too. I think everything.
We'll talk about that here in a second, but I think it's starting to get to that point where having one controller player isn't necessarily a must. But if you don't have three MNK players at that like NRG caliber, where you don't have a Rocket or Nathan and a Sweet, like it's starting to get pretty important to just have one, And I think that Team Liquid could really use someone like, oh god, I know they're my friends, so hopefully people don't take this the wrong way, but like Inhumed is really good at playing Gibby, shutting up and listening to me. That was his only job when it was me, Naughty, and Inhumed. And Slurpee G, he played with Tech, and no one in the entire scene is going to doubt Slurp's ability to shoot his gun. And everyone is going to agree that Slurp cannot IGL, and he just listens and plays Gibby. So I think Slurp and Inhumed are actually pretty good options. I think you didn't say it, maybe you did, but Fun plays Gibby.
Fun.
You did say Fun, my bad. I think Fun is a good option.
Yeah, they're actually like, I think Fun is their best option, not only because he's a Gibby player, but because they're going to be like living together. Like I'm pretty sure they're going to be living together. Let me double check.
I think it's
near each other at
Reps.
Least.
I think it's Reps, Monsoon.
Reps. You mean Reptar?
Or Reptar, my bad. Reptar, Monsoon, Fun, and I think it is Nocturnal.
Yeah. Like honestly, I think it would be great for like them to team, especially if they're living together, because like that's
like two duos, yeah,
it's like a borderline team house, right?
Pretty much 2 duos.
Yeah. So I mean, I think that would be like their best bet because say they do have conflicts in game, right? They can sit down in person outside of game, go over things, VOD review in person, and like actually have like a face-to-face discussion on what is going wrong. And I think that's like really big, honestly, for team building. Is like
and just the future.
Absolutely.
Knowing that like the game is growing, prize pool is growing, lands are coming back. Like these in-person meetings, these in-person events. Like for those of you that don't understand, there is a massive difference when you load into an AOGS game and you get 18th or 17th because of someone else or your own mistake, and you have to sit on Twitter for 45 minutes until the next game, instead of leaving your chair, leaving your PC, hanging out with your teammates and like going and standing outside, or like just go downstairs, make some fucking eggs or something and just chill with your boys. There's a massive difference for your mental health and like the tilt factor. So yeah, you're going into that next game with a more positive vibe than just sitting on Twitter for like 45 minutes and just letting the game pass by. So I do think there's a really good
Have either
backing
of you
behind them
guys
teaming.
lived in team houses in Apex?
But I've had really good LAN experience that kind of backs up what Zach is saying.
Yeah.
When it came to playing in X Games and playing at Poland with Hal and Jordan, between every game, say something went wrong, like we're headsets off and we're talking then and there, like face to face, like, okay, what went wrong? How can we prevent this from happening in the next game? What are we going to do going forward, right? And we fixed it then and there, and it never happened. Like immediately, next game, it never happened from there on forward.
Yeah.
So,
Now, having a team
I
house
lived
is
with
huge
Monsoon.
for mentality and stuff, right? Back when I competed in Overwatch, I lived in game house for a few months. So really being able to sit down between the games, like there's a lot less tilt. You could keep your teammates' heads in the games, right? Like you said, sitting on Twitter for 45 minutes, that's not good.
There's a lot less clashing too. Like when you can see someone's
100%.
genuine intentions that they aren't attacking you and they're more being like, "Yo, I want to win, you want to win, get your fucking head out your ass" type deal. There's a big difference, and sometimes online through Discord it can be easily misinterpreted when someone's passion and
100%.
intensity can seem evil. I lived with Monsoon when I played with FlyQuest with Mon and Lou. Me and Mon lived in Santa Monica. Lou didn't ever move in because I think Lou was still in high school at the time. So yeah, that was my situation, but it was really nice. It was really fun. It was great. Honestly, I would team house again if I had the opportunity. I just think it's the best possible environment for the best possible outcomes. I don't think there's any argument to that either.
Definitely not. I wanted to touch on something that you two both mentioned at one point. Earlier, Zach, you said that you guys are both IGLs. People have been talking about like who's going to IGL. They don't want you to butt heads. And then Mac, about a few minutes ago, mentioned that he was butting heads with another guy on his last team who I guess kind of wanted IGL or just had that mentality of wanting to lead. So how can you guys go more in depth on how you guys are going to handle that? Who's going to IGL? How to work?
I'll start with that one. So correct me when I'm wrong here, Al. But to a lot of casuals, you guys need to understand that there is a lot more that go into these things than what you guys see. You got to understand there's things on stream, there's things off stream, there's things in game, there's things out of game, there's things that you guys just don't see that you guys, when you do see it, it'll blow over your head. You won't even see it. Like you guys, when you form these opinions, like just know that you're probably missing a lot. And to some of you might not, but just know that. I'm gonna go all the way back to Mac and TSM. Albralelie has made it clear that even in some of those days towards the end, he liked to like have his voice be heard, and he liked to be like a little bit creative and have some space to like work through things and maybe get ahead of the meta. And Hal wasn't really open to that, and that was, I guess we'll refer to it as a power struggle. It may not be like the proper definition, but we'll say it's a power struggle. Liquid comes around and he's working with Nocturnal. I wasn't there, obviously, so I don't know how long it was, but obviously there's a power struggle there on whose IGLing is better, whose IGLing is worse, whose is effective, whose is risky, yada, yada, yada. They're back and forth. Nothing ever clean cut works out, right? So he had one roster, power struggle, second roster, power struggle, and now his third roster that picked him up has a very outspoken and loud IGL, myself. So a lot of people have a very fair reason in this situation to be very worried about this roster, because the past two that in reality, let's be fair, let's be honest, they did work out. They were good teams. Liquid was a top 5 team throughout this whole past circuit. They did. That was just the truth. And when he was on TSM, they were the best team in the world. So although there was a power struggle, they were still working out. They were still hitting their top 5, top 3 quota. They were doing more than good enough. Now, obviously, it doesn't mean the team's perfect, but you get the point. So that being said, I understand where these people's worries about us meshing and IGLing and clashing come from. But I think there's a big difference. And I think the big difference comes from me and Mac having a history. Me and Mac playing video games together for the past year will and should result in the power struggle being very, very, very much less important shouldn't be a big deal because me and Mac play other games together all the time, and we're very used to like just taking the backseat to the other person and just chilling, whether it be taking the backseat in a conversation and letting the person talk, or if I'm gonna IGL a Valorant game, if he's gonna IGL one League of Legends, like sometimes he'll jungle, sometimes I'll jungle. Like just it may be small things, not directly, but I think that will actually make a big difference in the long term because we know each other like very well. And as far as like the answer to like who's going to be IGLing, it's just kind of a dumb question to all the people that have been asking it. Like obviously I've been a successful IGL. It's very risky what I do, but it can work. And Mac is a very passive IGL and is pretty fucking consistent and finds success. So obviously we're going to try both people and we'll see whatever we click with more, whatever we think will be more productive, whatever has a higher ceiling, however long it takes us to work into it, we'll probably go with that. And as of right now, we're taking a full break for like another month, maybe more. So we will have no idea and no answer on this for a while.
Yeah. On the topic of like the IGLing styles, I definitely wouldn't say. So I think the clashing issue that I've had on previous rosters isn't like, I just want to say this, there's no like animosity between me or like my other teammates that were IGLs, right? At least on my end. I don't know how they feel about it back then, but on my end, I don't think there was any animosity. But when it comes to the reasoning on why I think that I clashed with them, it's because I've always had a more aggressive and creative style than they have. So Hal back in the day was a very, very, very extremely passive IGL back in the day. I think anyone that watched him back then will say that, and that he's grown into a very, very good, dynamic, and aggressive IGL today. And Brandon or Nocturnal is also a really, really passive, methodical, and well thought out IGL. Whereas me and Zach, the reason that we don't believe that we'll clash, or at least I don't believe that we'll clash, is because we have very similar reactive playstyles. We make a lot of on-the-fly decision making. It's good to think 10 steps ahead, right? And be, thinking multiple zones ahead. But sometimes too much structure can actually be the reason that you fail in a battle royale. Because as soon as, one team gets in your way, right? That's it. Like your plan has been folded. But at the same time, being too dynamic is also really bad. Because then you have no structure and it's chaos, right? And I think me and Zach will be able to find a really good balance between structure and, dynamic flow in our games. Just because we're both really aggressive, we both know that we can take these crazy fights, and I think we both have pretty decent risk assessment. Zach is obviously a little bit more risky than I am, but I think that I can kind of pace him and bring in the I guess the brains. There's a little bit more brains.
I would have worded it like reel in the animal or something. I would say something else. But sure, we'll go with he'll be the brains. Fuck
a little bit more brains.
That's funny.
I know you guys put your blind octane pads and no scans. We won't be doing many of those.
Those happen. They exist. They have happened in the past, and some of them have worked out.
Yeah,
some of them have failed. So
some of them, they're written down.
Some of them have been laughable offenses for sure. Yeah, that's that question. That's a big question, so it's hard to answer.
I wanna ask another question about your guys' team. You guys have a coach, right? PvP.
Yeah.
So I was watching Designfuls from G2 stream like about a week ago, and somebody said maybe you guys need a coach in his chat. And he lost it on the guy. Like, he called him an idiot, said, we don't need a coach. Like, you don't need a coach in this game. But you guys have a coach. So I want to ask your guys' perspective on this. Like, how useful is actually having a coach?
Let's just clear up the air. I'll let Mac talk on this, but I'm going to just say one sentence first. There's a big difference right now in Apex between having a coach and having an analyst. And where design blew up on that person, I would probably blow up on that person in the same way, to be fair. The idea of having a coach right now in Apex is pretty just non-existent. You see G Dolphin with TSM or PvPX with us, and the honest truth behind it is that G Dolphin isn't a better IGL probably than Hal, and PvPX is probably not a better IGL than me. However, they can give a fourth opinion. They can help like be in the middle of arguments. And I won't speak for G Dolphin because I don't know internally what he does over there. But for PvP, he does a ridiculous amount of analytical work, and it is amazing. I can confidently say that there is no chance. It is actually impossible we would have gotten second in the championship without PvP. So it's a lot more analytical work.
When you say analytical, you mean like what? Pulling VODs, getting information on other teams, coming up with strategy? What do you mean exactly?
Dude.
There's a lot.
Everything. I don't want to leak what he's doing and then other coaches start doing it because I think that is a big advantage that we have. I don't think other analysts and coaches are actually doing what he's doing. We are going above and beyond by miles. I don't even think Alb knows the entirety of it yet.
I obviously don't know all of it, but the basic role, in my opinion, of a coach, and I guess the core differences between a coach and an analyst, having worked with both roles before, coaches are kind of like a voice of reason in a battle royale, especially during tournaments. Between games, the coach would come in, solve any internal conflicts between the team, whether that was, oh, we should have done this, or like they're arguing on a call or anything like that, right? Like a voice of reason. They obviously can formulate plays and,
see things that we don't.
Yeah, they can see stuff that the players don't when they're in the moment. But that's mostly what a coach does, at least from my experience. But when it comes to the analytical side of things, you see a lot of analysts gathering zone data, rotation routes from where your POI is, like optimal rotation routes and timings of other teams so that you don't clash during the rotations. Testing character rotations like Valkyrie, finding like rotation routes with her ultimate or jump pad routes and stuff like that. There's a lot of stuff that they basically take a lot of pressure off of the players' shoulders to find information for the team that we can implement in a tournament.
Nice.
So I think having a coach right now is very underrated. I think it is one of the biggest additions you can actually get on your team. I think you can take a very like non-gifted mechanical team, which is right now the most important part in NA Apex, and give them a very, very dedicated analyst, and they will go very, very, very far. Because a lot of that work, is literally like, when I say this, I mean this from the bottom of my heart, man. When I went into the championship, I'm the IGL and leader of the team in game, and I shot call all at the same time, and I literally was doing nothing but shot calling. Like all of our plans like played out perfectly, and for the 2 games that the plans didn't play out perfectly, we had options and ways to go around those plans. And while they didn't work, it was our own fault they didn't work and our inability to like shoot our guns and individual mistakes. So like, they really have the ability to just set you up for success. And then if you're capable of shooting your gun and taking the right route and being on time with your timers, etc., like, the games are so fucking easy.
Yeah, they give you really.
So you're giving really a lot of credit to PvP for your guys' performance.
Oh my god, bro! Like a ridiculous amount. I think everyone on the team would agree with that. You go to Nagi, you go to Naughty. I think anyone on my team would agree that it'd actually be impossible without him to replicate that second in that fashion, at least. Yeah, definitely the most underrated role in Apex by far. And I definitely think if you want your team to actually succeed, finding. It doesn't even have to be the smartest player, which is like the thing. It like the coach / analyst really doesn't have to be the smartest person. It just more so has to be like a very, very, very dedicated person to wanting that team to win, and then giving them the resources and the time to like go out of their way to like run through the buildings of West Fragment and see which way is faster and which way is smarter. Exactly at what point should I throw my octane pad and where for every single zone and like every single like rollout that we have? Like there's just so much.
Yeah.
Sounds impactful.
On the topic of like people that are really passionate for the scene and things like that when it comes to analytical work, minus tempo. I'm actually surprised that no one has like
signed him.
reached out to him. Yeah, like I'm surprised no orgs have reached out to him because he's probably one of the most dedicated guys in the scene that isn't a pro, that isn't a coach, that isn't. He just like he just tallies up, like he does live.
I can't believe he doesn't work at
He
Respawn.
does a lot of stuff. Yeah, I can't believe that either. Like he should be like part of their competitive team or something. The amount of drive that this guy has, and he just does it all in his
The work
spare
that he
time.
does, like he's the hardest working person in NA competitive right now for making NA competitive work, and it's not close.
100%. He's by far.
Does he do like content? I haven't heard. You guys said minus tempo, right?
I don't think he does content.
So say there's any tournament going on. So say like for champs, for example, right? Most teams will have a command in their chat that's like, like exclamation mark score, right? And it'll bring up like all the team scores. Minus Tempo is the guy that gets all that stuff done live for those commands.
Oh wow! Does he work with like Liquipedia or anything, or just?
I don't believe.
I don't think he does anything outside of run a practice Discord and then do like the scores and then be just like very active on Twitter with zone knowledge and shit like that. He documents all the zones, how all the team move and shit and how the tournaments go.
Yeah, you have to send me his Twitter
very
after,
valuable.
Zach. I'll take a look into him.
He does really good analytical work, and like if
he is worth the money.
Yeah, he's extremely deserving of being picked up. Like it blows my mind that he hasn't been picked up as a coach, analyst, or something.
Hey, well, shout out to
Search
minus
Roll.
tempo.
Even just staff for like the comp, just for Apex comp, he'd be incredible.
Now, there's one other question I wanted to ask Mac. So I've seen people talking about it on Twitter and stuff. Obviously, you're in TSM, right? Some people are saying, oh, he's joining C9, he's joining C9. That's not the reality, right? You're still on TSM. How does that work? Because you're kind of really the only player in Apex who does that.
Yeah, I mean, so you're familiar with how things work in Fortnite, right?
Of course, yeah.
Or, TSM has players that play with all kinds of other people, and C9 does too. Or I don't know if C9 has Fortnite players. I could be wrong. You get the idea. Signed Fortnite players do it all the time. They play with their own rosters and stuff like that. But I'm also not the only one. Liquid Casper had his own roster for a little bit. The original CLG roster, when they split up with Nicewig, Noko, and Madness, they split up and they had 3 rosters going for a little bit. And then, Madness's roster got fully picked up and all that stuff. So I'm definitely not just the only one that's done it. I think
I'm Complexity have done it. Xset have done it.
Yeah, Complexity has content creators that compete like Fun FPS. Has a Prizzy done it? Yeah, a Prizzy competed with Wig and Timmy, I think. Yeah, so I mean, like, there's a lot of people that do it. I'm definitely not the only one. But I think I'm probably just the most known one at this point because I've gone from, like I played at TSM's main roster to playing with Liquid's roster and now C9's roster. So I'm kind of bouncing from T1 org to T1 org. Which I think is why there's a lot of spotlight on me rather than the other people that are just playing with other unsigned players, right?
Yeah, exactly. That's more so what I meant. Like you joining another org that's officially a top team and has 2 signed players, and then you being on another tier 1 org.
Yeah, it's definitely different. I don't know if that's something that does happen in Fortnite, whether say Liquid's roster and TSM's roster play together or not.
Super common in Fortnite.
Yeah, very common.
Very common.
Okay. Yeah, so I mean, it's basically like, for anyone that's familiar with Fortnite, just look at it the same exact way. I have no obligations to any of the other orgs that I play with. I'm still under TSM. I continue to plan to be under TSM. So yeah, there's no. Yeah.
Awesome. Yeah, that was a question I saw popping around. People were wondering what's going on. And I guess since I kind of just segued into a question, did you guys happen to see any of the ones that you wanted to answer on there on Twitter?
I have one right here. I'll start with this one. If you guys want to take a second, look for a couple, you can always just cut to whatever. This Definitely. One says, in a perfect world, what do you see needing to happen in Apex to secure its future as a big esport? Examples are like meta shifts, comp-focused maps, team skins to generate revenue, yada, yada, yada. So, in a perfect world, what do you see needing to happen in Apex to secure its big future as a big esport? Now, I want TFG to go first because he's like an org owner, definitely has a different perspective than Al.
Can you repeat that question? I was scrolling, looking through more.
Here's what we'll do. We'll make it really easy on you for the sake of if your editors want to care to do it. I'm gonna
send it
send
over to
all
me.
these questions to you on Discord so that people could just bring them up if they want to.
You Twitter DM them to me.
That is
Square,
doable
that'll
as
mess
well.
up the cams.
All right, deal. I sent it to you on Twitter.
All right, let me look over this real quick.
So it says, in a perfect world, what do you see needing to happen to Apex to secure its future as a big esport?
Yeah, I mean that's a huge question, right?
A lot to unload, yeah.
Yeah. In our last episode, we talked with Fallout a little bit about this. The big orgs joining in, like FaZe Clan, 100 Thieves. Obviously, getting big orgs like that coming into Apex would definitely support the scene more. We also talked about Apex possibly releasing skins for organizations, which gives Kangarna, TSM, C9, whoever it is in the scene, more motivation to want to put more into the esport, right? Because that's how you can be monetized. So if I can make money off of Apex in any way, that makes me want to put more money into it. So that's why I'm hosting BFC tournaments, right? That's why we're signing all these content creators, because I see opportunities for KNG to be monetized through those. And, there's not a lot of, when it comes to the big orgs like FaZe Clan and 100 Thieves, they don't need to monetize in the ways that I am doing it, right? Because they're just absolute giants with huge investors, millions of dollars funded into them. The little things that I'm doing in orgs like, maybe Era or some of the other ones in Apex Qualix, things that we can do don't really matter to them. So I think bringing big orgs into Apex would definitely help a lot, especially those two big mainstream ones. Moving forward, I do know some information that's coming and I'm excited for it. And I do believe that will help take Apex to that next level in terms of being a massive esport. I'm sure Max probably heard of something about what's coming, right? And I think that definitely will help. No, nothing.
No clue.
I don't know.
Really? I feel
don't
like
know.
a player of
Maybe.
your caliber would know.
I might. I don't know.
Oh, you
I-
might? Okay.
I don't
get
know.
you. You don't know. Yeah, no,
I don't
there's
know.
some exciting things coming for sure. I think
Yeah.
we'll boost the scene up a lot.
I'm fucking ready for Shaheen's announcement, man. I'm fucking sick of sitting here with no information. I actually know nothing. That's not a joke.
Yeah, when it comes to like upcoming tournaments, we are in the dark.
Wow.
actually
Well, they have
no
hinted
clue.
at some things
They've
in
hinted
their
at things.
blogs and stuff. So we know
Yeah,
big
but
things
see-
are coming. We just don't know what exactly it is. Like I've seen Zach go around and say, "We know lands are coming. We know they're coming."
Me
but
and
we
you
don't know
talked about
when."
this. Like the casuals care about that shit. The comp players don't give a fuck. Because the comp players been known for a long time that lands are coming. We just don't know when. And the casuals, they don't really think like that sometimes. They'll kind of like look past it and be like, holy fuck, lands are coming back. Right? Where the comp players are like, lands are going to come back. Just when and how much money. And we still have no fucking clue. So we're literally sitting in the same boat as before. And then it's the same thing for the upcoming circuit. It's like the upcoming circuit. I have no fucking clue how much money it is. I have no fucking clue.
Well,
what format
look at
all
the last
tournaments are
ALGS they just ran, right? What did they decide to do? They did
They
crowdfunding,
did
right?
crowdfunding,
Yeah.
If they
So that's a
continue
great
that-
sign.
That is a great sign, but how often are they going to crowdfund? The championship is a once-a-year thing. Is crowdfunding going to be a thing now for every playoff and championship? How is it going to work? You never
Hear me
know.
out. What if they did? They could just do crowdfunding for each individual circuit, considering how we had, the winter circuit, the autumn circuit, and the summer circuit, right? So imagine that all those circuits are crowdfunded, so all tournaments within that circuit are, their prize pools are increased, and like whatever they crowdfund is distributed through those tournaments in large chunks,
Or would you rather have it be like top heavy, where the OTs are like a little bit more money than they are now because we do need to fucking live.
Yeah.
The OTs definitely need to be increased.
Yeah, the previous OTs were pretty bad.
But if we're getting like the big juicers come around playoffs, because we're only gonna have one championship a year. From what I remember, we're gonna have 3 or 4 playoffs. I think it's 3 a year. With that being said, 3 playoffs a year, it'd be pretty cool to have 3 playoffs with big prize pools, the big banger juicer prize pool for the championship, and then the OTs be more than enough to get you by if you're a consistent top tier competing team.
And
That's what I'm looking for.
Yeah.
Not just like needing to be signed to get by, right? Like they need to make it so it's sustainable for these, these tier 2
Free agents, yeah.
all the free agents, the tier 2 teams, like they need to be able to have a livable source of income if they are a team that's placing top 5. Because that just in the last OTs, like you could get 5th or like 3rd, and like
Doesn't
it was
matter.
nothing.
Dude, you could get first, bro. got first place, you made $2,000. Getting first place is so fucking hard. You get first place,
Yeah.
you get $2,000 individually. Obviously, that's pre-tax. I played at Twitch Rivals and placed like seventh, and I made $3,000 individually. It's
Yeah.
just like it's just a weird scenario. Obviously, it was because of COVID, and it sucks because having this conversation publicly and private, it's really like never goes anywhere because it's always just like Respawn going, oh, but we didn't expect COVID, so we didn't think we had to pour money into online instead of lands. And then it's you going back to them being like, bro, I still need to fucking eat. So it's like a really stupid conversation because it never goes anywhere because of that. But I think what Apex needs for an upcoming bright future is to really take control of the competitive scene. I think Apex has already proven that what grows Apex, in my opinion, is competitive. I mean, you're seeing some lead content creators pave the way for Apex as well, like Timmy. You're seeing him doing some of these challenges, hitting like 50K viewers, like crazy fucking numbers. But outside of those outliers, because they are outliers, I think what's really growing Apex consistently over these past few months is these ALGSs, these tournaments where you're seeing Hal hit 50K, 80K, 90K, yada, 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 and the views shed down, right?
Yeah. And what's
So I really think the more they put in the comp, the more you'll see content and on Twitch.
And I think they do plan to do that too, because before COVID, they did have a lot of activity planned for the comp scene, right? So I think we have a lot of hope that they're going to come back strong after ALGS.
A lot of hope, man, but a lot of BRs have promised a lot of things.
Oh,
failed,
yeah.
So
We'll
see.
Fortnite has absolutely failed the comp scene massively, right? But the difference, you just mentioned it, between Fortnite and Apex is that the Apex popular people are mostly comp players, whereas in Fortnite, you didn't really need to be a comp player to be super popular. Like, just literally anybody and everybody could be popular in Fortnite. There's so many, right? So they didn't need to focus on comp. So maybe Apex and EA can analyze the situation and realize, competitive is what's going to grow our game. And I think they're gonna.
I think the reason that comp is so much larger, or not larger, I think the reason comp is such a driving force behind, these high viewer streamers like Hal, like Sweet and stuff like that, is because, the devs consistently brand the game as a team game, right? So doing that inherently makes your game competitive. So people are really interested to see this team game that they've been playing, with their friends. They're really interested to see how people play it at the
highest level.
Yeah. So like when you see Hal, right, he can get 90K viewers or 100K viewers or whatever, right? But that doesn't mean that like he's the only one with the viewers, right? Like he's hitting 90, right? While Sweet can have like 20K, or like other people can have like 30, 40, like there's a lot of viewers that just, they want to see how every team is playing. Like, there's a lot of eyes on TSM, but
everyone blows up.
It's like everybody's eating. When competition is happening, everybody's eating.
I average, like, right now I'm averaging like anywhere from like, well, mainly because of this drama. Recently, I've been averaging 1,000 viewers a stream, but typically on average, I average around like 300 viewers a stream. When LGSs are going on, if we're like top 5, I can sit around like 2 to like 4K. Yeah, and that's insane. Think of the percent growth that is. That's fucking stupid. Al typically streams in the Apex section to like 3 to like 5K. Correct me if I'm wrong. Something along the lines of that. When champs come around, it's like 20K. You can hit. If you're doing good, I thought you hit higher, but maybe
if I'm doing like really well, like say like we just won 2 games or something, right? Like we're doing incredibly well. Then your viewership is gonna go like to the moon, right?
Yeah, it's crazy.
And that happens for everybody, right? So you can be an unsigned team, you could be a tier 2 team, but if you just won 2 games back to back, you could be a 20 viewer average player. Suddenly you got like 2,000 viewers sometimes.
Yeah, to speak on that, before you were even involved in the game, you probably didn't even know it existed, TFG. Me and Humed and Stay Naughty played together at one point, and we were getting contested in West Fragment by CLG. And we were the only team being contested, and we were being contested in a grand finals. It wasn't like a qual round or anything. It was the Super Juicer finals, right?
Yeah.
So it was like the only hype for the first 15 minutes of the game was our team fights.
Yeah.
And then it was 15 minutes of nothing, and then the end game type deal. So when the games would start, me and Naughty, Naughty averaged probably like 70 viewers at the time, maybe 60. I averaged probably like 150 to 200 at the time. We would both skyrocket to like 900, 500. All those people would come watch the fight and then leave and go watch Hal play out the game. Yeah. It's just like the we call them chat hoppers. Like the chat hoppers are insane come tournament time. Like you can go up like 5,000 viewers instantly if you kill
And then you
TSM.
lose them as well.
It is unbelievable, and then
And
lose
they're all
them before
gone.
the next game starts.
Yeah, as soon as you die, they're gone. So like it's crazy. Maintaining viewership during tournaments all comes down to how you
Your consistency,
Yeah.
it's
yeah,
You
it's
gotta do
insane.
well.
Like and you can what's crazy is that like even after tournaments, right, you can kind of like carry that. Like if you're a team like cements yourself as like we played extremely well in this tournament, right? And like you had thousands of eyes on you the whole time, like your next streams are going to do significantly better than what you used to, right? Because they're going to come see, how is this guy playing in ranked? Like how does this guy practice? How does he?
Yeah. Well, we've
how
seen
does
it
he
with the champs over here at KNG, right? Like they've all, I mean, they were
Yeah, they've all
literally
been doing
10
great now.
CCV streamers, some maybe 20, 30. Now they're hitting 70s, 100s a lot. So
Yeah,
if you
No, it's
perform, you're going to grow in the game 100%.
yeah.
Oh, 100%.
It also comes down a lot to
Well, that's how got there. I mean, just
Yeah.
exactly what you
Yeah.
said. Like, if you perform, you grow. Hal and TSM won like the first 5 big Apex tournaments consecutively,
That's
and
crazy.
now that man is hitting 90K viewers in tournaments. Albralelie averages like 3 to 5K. Reps literally didn't stream for like fucking the first year and a half because he's a moron, in my opinion. But now he can turn on his stream whenever, dude, and that dude is getting like 500 to like 2K.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's with him literally like not streaming at all when they were frying, and now he chooses to do it
Yeah.
now. So it's definitely all about competitive. It definitely
Missed
is, and
opportunity
it's
there
awesome.
for him.
the
Yeah.
biggest
Well,
thing.
Not really. He's more than big enough.
Yeah. The biggest thing, honestly, that I can say for like people that are competing in Apex and streaming, it is extremely important, especially if you do well in a tournament, to consistently stream. Because like if you get to the point where, like you can just stream and you don't need to worry about comp anymore, like a lot of viewers will stick around for that kind of stuff. So like you can have like 1 or 2 crazy good tournaments and then decide comp's not for you and still be good. Like consistency in Apex especially is massive.
But
Because
that's the thing.
People love the ranked grind. They don't like some people don't even care about comp. A lot of people love the ranked grind. Look at Naughty
Yeah.
right now, right? Naughty's maintaining like thousands of viewers because he's been going for the rank 1 grind. And that happened pretty much
Just to top that conversation though, if any like free agent are listening, like I want to put a massive emphasis, not that like I am like the word of reason, like I'm just some bald dude that isn't the worst player in the game, is far from the best player in the game. I really think until you believe you're a consistent top 5, top 6 team, I don't think you should stream. I think it is way easier to get out your issues in between games in LGS and shit off stream. I think it's way easier to grow off stream. I think it's way easier to chill off stream. I think everything is easier off stream. Everything. So until you're going to promise yourself, hey, we're gonna consistently be top 6, then you should never be streaming these tournaments, because that growth only is happening for like the top teams anyway. So there's kind of no point, in my opinion, to be like a 17th or a 15th or a 12th place regular Andy and just throwing on the live and then just praying to God you win one game, instead of like putting in those extra 3 months of like taking off time, building into a way better team, and then seeing the massive growth, right? Instead of reaching for those crumbs.
I mean, I think that what that really comes down to, right, is, obviously don't stream your scrims if you're a small team or a team that is just formed. When scrims do happen, NA doesn't really scrim that much. So I guess, don't stream small tournaments, especially if you're still trying to like figure stuff out. But then when these big majors do come around, and if you do feel confident, that's when you should stream. But if you are playing ranked or you are playing pubs, I don't think you should ever just play pubs off stream or like play ranked off stream. I feel like unless you're doing something personal with other people, I think you should always kind of be on air and trying to market yourself as like a good player, right?
100%.
Because like there's players that have found success just from playing pubs, not even ranked. Like look at Fade.
Oh my God.
Those guys, Ace. I mean, Ace had comp Ace played comp too, but like he's known for being incredibly good and like in pubs and stuff like that.
He
He's
is
really
the
flashy
pub star.
player.
He is
Yeah.
the pub star.
Like when you think of like pub stompers, like people that are really flashy, really, really mechanically gifted, you think of Ace, Lyric.
Ace, Lyric, Fade, yeah, the list
Yeah.
goes on. Yeah.
And
I
like,
mean,
and they don't
speaking
even
of
need
someone
that.
like Fade, what a lot of pros don't understand is like he's made a career out of this game that is better than almost all the pros, right? Like he's living good now. And
Absolutely.
content is so important. And I feel so bad for a lot of those pros, like, you know, the top 15 to like 20 teams who really
Yeah,
do
like,
want to be
trying
good,
pros.
but they don't get anything out of the game, right? And they don't
Yeah.
realize like,
Well, a big. I'm gonna stop you, man.
Go
I'm
ahead,
gonna
go ahead.
interrupt you because a big difference is the money, man. It is fucking horrible.
well, that's
To
my
pay
point.
editors
That's my
and that
point,
shit
right?
to do that when you're making zero money. Now I understand it's an investment in your future. I get that aspect, but like it was like
Don't have
no
those-
disrespect to Fade, bro. I do respect his grind and all of the pub stars grind. I'm really close with Lyric and other people. I really do appreciate them, but like they are perfect examples of blowing up like pretty much overnight. Like I'm pretty sure I remember seeing screenshots of Fade or Lyric. I can't remember which one. Like one of them getting like 49,000 subs in 1 month of like their 100K now, or 36,000 of their 100K now in literally like a 28-day period. Like they're great examples of like blowing up overnight. And I think it's really hard for these pro players to see the investment of having editors and shit, because a lot of us don't have time because you have to work a side job or you're just not experienced enough to edit your own shit as well. I
Well,
think that
that's
has a
that's
lot
the
more to do with it.
misconception right there. That's a big misconception. Editing isn't too hard. You look at Fade's videos, I guarantee you, if you just sat down and learned how to edit for maybe a night or two, you could edit his videos in about an hour or less. 100%.
Really?
Oh yeah,
I have no
absolutely,
idea.
man. Big time. I'm a YouTuber. I have over 700K subscribers, right? I've edited my whole
Maybe
my
it's a
own videos
lazy
my whole
factor
life.
then. Maybe it's just us not being interested in learning.
It's
Yeah.
just it's a missed opportunity. Like those players are some of the best players in the entire world. Even if you're on a top 20 team, right? You're still one of the best players in the entire game. You can do what Fade's doing, 100%. You just got to go out and make that commitment and try to do it. And that's why I feel bad, because they don't understand that opportunity. They could be Fade. They really could. A lot of pro players could be just like Fade, even if they are working a side job. I don't want to hear that as an excuse. It doesn't take that much effort and time. It's just something you have to go out and do
Maybe.
and learn.
I would not know.
I gotta disagree. Just because,
yeah?
like, yeah, like I think the editing part, like I can agree with you with. Editing isn't that hard, but the struggle that comes in is, say that you are one of these unsigned free agents, right? And you're maybe only playing Apex like 3-4 hours a day, right? Actually farming good content without streaming, like say like you're just trying to record a YouTube video, right? You can look at people like Kobe or Jenks as examples of this. They don't always stream, but they do consistently upload on YouTube, right?
Yeah.
It can be really hard to actually farm content in Apex because of how sweaty the game is, even at a pub level, once you're at a certain point in the skill-based matchmaking kind of ladder. So like you could play for like 4 hours, right, and not have a single good game. And then like pretty much you're just throwing together like a couple clips here and there, right? But I feel like the vast majority of people that do record their gameplay, like they die and they chalk the recording, right? Unless they hit like some crazy clip during that, they're not just gonna like throw together like, oh, I got a 2-piece in the zipline building or something. They're just gonna throw that in their video, right? So it's kind of it's really hard unless you're like consistently hitting these like crazy clips in the games that you don't win or the games you don't pop off in.
I get where you're coming from 100%, right? Because I've seen your YouTube channel. I've seen you're pretty consistent, right? So you understand the game a little bit.
Yeah.
But the big thing that I've noticed, especially with a lot of the pros we've signed on our team, so we provide them with editors and full-time YouTube management and everything, right?
Yeah.
And a big issue with the pros is they don't realize what's actually good or not, because your guys' standards are so high because
Yeah,
you're
we're
pros.
traded.
You know what I mean? But there is, you kind of mentioned a little bit, there is a lot of content there that actually is good, that can work on YouTube, that they skim over because, that's not my standards. You know what I mean? So it is a little hard to get content, but 4 to 5 videos a week is definitely doable. And not every video needs to be you going out and getting 20 kills and 4K damage. It could literally be you running around trying to win a game with no shields the whole time, or using Mozambiques only. You know, something like that.
Yeah, and
And
everyone's different. Every niche is different. Like for you're from Fortnite, so I'm sure you're familiar with like Scented YouTube videos
Scented,
or Scented, yes.
yeah,
Or Scented
he's
is
a phase
like
pro, right?
his YouTube videos.
Mm-hmm.
How they're like more of like montagey and just like a song in the background. That's definitely my favorite way to watch Fortnite. And
Yeah.
same for Apex. I
Mhm.
I in the history of me playing Apex Legends, man, I have been playing or trying to play professionally and playing competitively since literal day one of this game. Not exaggerating. I have never once in my entire life watched like a 4K 20 bomb video or like I dropped 7K damage. I have never once watched one of those. But I've watched every single one of like Nathan's videos, every single one of like Rocker's videos. Like
Petty
something
box.
to
Yeah.
me, yeah, like the little like montagey format of just like showing off your skill with like a dope song in the background to me is like way more appealing. And I think I'll
Yeah.
agree with you to an extent because there's just so many different ways of content, and you just kind of have to wait for it to catch and then be consistent with it. And then once it like catches, hits the algorithm, like you have a
The
chance, you
thing,
know?
Well, the
the
big
thing
issue with
that
that
is,
content is though it's not monetizable.
yeah,
So they're not
DMCA.
making money off those videos. None at
Yeah,
all. I mean, if
yeah,
you build the channel to a position where you are getting consistent viewers, you can transition it maybe, which I've done in the past with a few YouTubers in Fortnite because that is very popular in Fortnite. But there's literally no money in that whatsoever.
I had no idea.
Yeah,
yeah,
there's none because
yeah.
it's all copyrighted.
Yeah, any video with music, you will like it'll just pop up in your email. You know, you got a copyright strike or like a copyright. Like they usually don't DMCA takedown. They don't really do
No,
that on
no.
YouTube.
YouTube
But
doesn't
they
do
just
that. They
make
just
it.
monetize it and send the money to whoever the record
Mhm.
label or whoever owns the music.
Yeah, so like you're pretty much just feeding
Yeah.
a record label by making those kind of videos.
It's kind of shitty, but that's the problem with
Content.
that type of content, right? And
You're
Right.
right.
again, you're
There's
not
no-
an average consumer. You're fucking one of the best pros in the game. Of course, you're not going and watching somebody get 7K damage because you could do that on your own with your eyes closed, right? But the average consumer, that's what they like to see, right? And that's how
Yeah.
you want to build a content channel because that's where the money is. It's monetizable.
Yeah, for
Let's move
sure.
on. Let's move on to another question. I sent you the tweet. It says,
Let me
we
see.
may have already talked about this. We already talked about this.
Yeah, we've been going for an hour.
What are the challenges the team may encounter after this roster change, given that the C9 roster was performing pretty well already with Noct? And then what were Noct's significant contributions to the team that could hurt the team now that they left the roster? So I'll start with the second part of that question. And then I'll let Mac kind of chime in on the first one. He can say whatever he wants about that. But
Mhm.
what were Noct's significant contributions to the team that could hurt now that he is gone? Noct was a very, 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 very strong co-IGL. Noct had no problem telling me, hey, Zach, I know that you think the zone is going to end here, but I really think it's here, and this is why. And honestly, it got to the point where Noct was like just as consistent as me. On like the ones where like he would interject, because it really wasn't often, but when he would interject, he was right like 80+% of the time. It was very rare that he was wrong. And I think me and Albralelie are both so prone to being a main IGL and shot caller that it's going to be really, really, really difficult for us to get better and get comfortable in a co-IGL or no co-IGL at all and just take over a shot call role fully. I think it's just going to be like a comfortability factor where we don't know how much time it'll take. It could happen overnight. It could take 4 months, right? Easing into those roles could be really difficult. And that was something that Noct was really good at. Another thing that Noct was really good at was like being like the rock of the team, if that makes sense. Me and Naughty are very, very aggressive players who like to flex our mechanical skill, being better than the person in front of ours, in front of our crosshair. So we play really, really aggressive. And Noct was a very, very good counterpart to that by just kind of like playing Jibby, playing a dome around us, playing passive, always playing like second or third peak, and he was very, very good at that role. So it'll be very interesting to see how long it takes for me or Al to fill that role properly or play it differently and play it better or a tiny bit worse. I'm not certain. We'll see. But those are the things that Noct did that were probably most beneficial that could hurt.
Yeah, I think the biggest potential issue that we could run into really is part of me is a double-edged sword, right? Like I'm incredibly versatile in my legend pool. I can play anything. You put me on any character. It could be Caustic, it could be Path, it could be Gibby, it could be Wraith. I'll play it at the top level. And while that's a good thing, it's also a bad thing, because there's so much versatility that a team can run any comp and they can get away with running any comp, right?
May not be the best. You never know.
Yeah, it's like you'll bounce between so many comps trying to find what sticks that you end up wasting a lot of time. And it can come down to things where like you'll lose a game and be like, man, if we were running this comp, you know, like it would have been better. Like if we were running this comp, it would have been better, you know. And it can kind of be it can be a bit of a struggle having someone that can bounce around a lot between different characters. So I mean, I'm gonna try my best to stay cemented onto one or two characters to try to mitigate that. And I told Zach and Naughty that I wanted them to control what comps we play strictly to avoid that. Because you definitely saw that happen with me when I was on Liquid, where we played 5 comps in one tournament. Like
you said, the versatility is a double-edged sword. It goes 2 directions, and I just want to point out for the few fans we do have left after all this fucking craziness that there are 2 major patches before the next LGS.
Yeah.
Major big patches. And from what I've heard, word on the street is that there's even a new legend coming out before the next LGS. And with that being said, there's probably going to be a meta shift, if not 2, coming up. Mm-hmm. And that is where Albralelie should have the advantage over, I am not exaggerating when I say this, literally every single person in the scene. No one will deny that he thinks on a different level when it comes to this stuff and being the first player to be the most innovative with Valk or whatever it may be, right? So I think we do have an advantage there. But like you said, the double-edged sword part, it's just kind of like my job being an outspoken also leader to just keep that down. Just tell him to shut the fuck up, play this role and be the best at that role. And then just not letting his mind wander into those wild paths. Like, oh, I wonder if we played this character, it would have been way easier. But like, just play that character, play it at the highest level and you can get away with it.
To build onto that, I guess this is like a way that me and Zach are going to work pretty well together. Is that I said earlier how Zach's play, like as an IGL, is a little bit less structured in game. I think Zach will bring structure out of game when it comes to, you know, he'll structure our comps and I'll structure how we use those comps. If that makes sense.
Here you go. You can answer this. Just try to be quick with this one. Try to answer like just a couple more questions. Try to be quick with this one, Alb. Tifchi, do you have anything to say? I don't want to like.
No, you guys are good on that topic.
What are the challenges the team may encounter given the change? I think we already touched on it, but if there isn't anything we didn't, what do we about to run into that we aren't expecting to run into or something?
I think you and me have talked about it before, how I'm going to have a rude awakening for what we can actually get away with, because the past rosters I've been on, we've been really passive in how we play generally. And having 2 extremely aggressive, really mechanically talented players on my team, I'm going to really have to limit test and figure out, you know, these are the plays we can get away with hyper aggression, and these are plays that we can't get away with. So, I mean, I think that's going to be the hardest part of adjusting to this new team. Is it's a completely different dynamic.
I agree with that. Yeah, I think you are. It's not that I don't want Nocturnal or Flanker to take that the wrong way, though. I don't. Want it to be like. I don't want Noc or Flanker to take it like they're not mechanically inclined. It's more of like a playstyle thing. It's like
it's like they're not. Yeah, it has nothing to do with their mechanics. It's like a I guess a confidence and familiarity in the situation kind of thing, right? Because Liquid, when it comes to like how we played and how they played before I joined and how we played after, we were always like a very sniper-based team. We were very comfortable mid-long range. We picked up a lot of our kills that way. Whereas Zach and Naughty are really, they thrive when they're in your face, right? So it's a completely different kind of play style.
And controllers.
And Naughty has a controller. And like, are Noct and Flanker capable of that? Yeah, of course. Like, they're top caliber players. But were they familiar enough with it that, like, you know, like we could do those plays all the time? No, it wasn't their realm it wasn't their play style, really.
And before people start getting confused, like, please keep in mind that my old teammate's name was Noct, and
Nocturnal.
Alb's old teammate's name is Nocturnal, but we call him Noc. Okay, So if you at any point in the video you think we're saying knocked when we mean to say nocturnal or vice versa,
I'll just call him Brandon from
just assume the other way. If you made it this far in the video and you're like, why did they say that about knocked? But we probably weren't talking about.
If they made it this far, shout out to you guys though, for real.
Fuck yeah.
You guys are legends, man. Sticking
Let's
around
look for a couple
watching
other.
A long one.
You got any other questions you want to go over?
I mean, I have not gone through the whole thing. Did you guys have any more?
I went through the whole thing. They're all really kind of similar. They're like questions you guys just answered, just formed in different ways. So, I mean, I think we're pretty good here. Unless there's any
the one
other
that I
topics you guys
picked,
want to
like
touch on.
we already covered it pretty much. So
Yeah. I'm just kind of like quickly scrolling through it. Yeah, no, I don't really see any questions. There's a question that says, if you and C9 don't work out, what are you guys gonna do? It's kind of impossible for us to not work out in reality. The NA region is just so top heavy with skill that you can be like a completely disjointed team and just have a ridiculous amount of mechanical skill and get away with a lot. I cannot tell you how many times I've said that, and that is just the truth of our region being very top heavy and bad at the bottom. So I really don't see a world where we're like genuinely bad. I think it is possible that like for our first like 2 to 3 months that like there's a small possibility that we aren't just instantly clicking, instantly meshing, and we are getting like 7th, 5th consistently and like growing and becoming that team and clicking into like a first place regular team. That's obviously the end goal.
Mm-hmm.
That's just my thought on that though. That's kind of all I got though.
All right. Well, awesome, man. This went great, really. We went over an hour here. We had a lot of good and great questions we answered. So thank you to you guys coming on for the second episode. Thank you to everybody who watched. And yeah, we'll see you guys next week.
Yeah.
Yeah.